All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Most Searched. This is a show where Warren and I talk about the most searched things throughout the course of the week. All right, next topic. We're going to seeing as we in the sporting realm, a lot of sporting themes coming out this week. Michael Jordan is officially has the biggest net worth of any athlete ever.
Estimated.
Does that surprise you, Warren?
No. I think besides the fact that the crap ton of money he made during his actual NBA career, but with the 6 titles won and so on and so forth, and sponsorship deals and all that other good sweetness, he's a good businessman. Apart from the Jordans, apart from the actual Jordan deal he has with shoes and clothing, from what I'm aware of, not that I've delved deep into his business acumen, but what are you doing, bro?
Sorry.
What is this? Intermission.
Oh, yes.
Shit.
You're saying, yeah?
I'm pretty certain he's got a lot of businesses or dealings behind the scenes that no one knows about, kind of like a Shaquille O'Neal situation. So yeah, I'm not surprised. To know that he's the richest is, I wouldn't say I'm shocked, but it's something I am kind of surprised on, considering you've got the LeBron James who invested into Liverpool and so on and so on. So that the fact that he's at that level is a surprise, but I'm not surprised he's worth a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of compound interest. That's what I think it is. I think it's one of the scenarios where he was technically one of the first ever global superstar athletes who received all the endorsements, the movies, the everything. He was the first, like all-time superstar. I think
he was the first to get. I think it was a sponsorship deal for clothing or shoes, basically. I think he was based on the documentary that I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, and he took a fine for it as well, wearing those Jordans, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, so I think when you're looking at that, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, 6 titles with the Chicago Bulls. His worth at the moment is $2.1 billion. So he's the first ever $1 billion athlete ever. And the funny thing is, again, when I'm talking about the compound interest, he made most of his money post NBA career. He made 90 million pounds from basketball in total, the years that he played. $63 million came from the last 2 seasons. $1.7 billion before taxes came from corporate sponsors. And those sponsors obviously are including, we do know the deal with Nike and Jordan, but we know he's got a sponsor with Hanes, Gatorade, which I always thought was a funny drink. I always thought that was made up. Yeah, it was Waterboy.
H2O.
You know, it was Waterboy.
Yeah.
H2O.
You're drinking the wrong water.
For the devil.
You're drinking the wrong water.
So Gatorade, Upper Deck. And he also, which is quite cool, is that, and I read this up earlier, is that he had minority stakes in the Charlotte Hornets, so another basketball team, which he then also sold. So he made money from that. So on top of everything else that he has. And when we're looking at Jordan now is also becoming, I mean, we all know Jordan's affiliated with Nike. A lot of your basketball goes, it is synonymous with basketball. But now what they're doing is they're expanding their reach and they're targeting or going into other sports. So like how Nike pretty much represents all the sports, Jordan are doing the same thing, as we have seen with PSG as an example.
They sound like an energy drink now. It's going into every sport.
Red Bull. But that's kind of where Jordan's headed. And which is great about this is that PSG signed an exclusive deal with Jordan. Because obviously PSG, like City, run by rich oil money, they understand that they've got to make other ways to sustain income or revenue. And like similar to Juventus, what they're trying to do is build the brand as a fashion brand. And having that exclusive right with Jordan for 3 years is something that I can tell you all the other football teams are envious of. I mean, Liverpool would probably love to get their hands on that right now.
I think also
they can't because it's exclusive.
I think also, well, obviously, I think what it also does is it will broaden the sport itself, football, soccer, which if you're American, by bringing bringing those younger fans or the other fans from the Western side more over MLS stage areas and to the European football. If guys like Jordan are involved in that and whatnot, so I think that it's a multi-layered plan. Obviously, they wouldn't do just one random deal. There's obviously other things to it, and I think that's part of it is broadening the spectrum, because if you're able to broaden the spectrum, you most likely will sell more, whether it's TV rights, whether it's shirts, whether it's memorabilia of some sort. That's obviously where they're heading with it, which makes sense. And Jordan obviously makes a nice little piece of the pie, sitting at home with his cigar, watching, laughing,
living his best.
Yeah,
watching The Last Dance. Living his best life.
Basically.
Yeah, but their stuff is pretty cool though. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm looking at I just want to buy I want to literally just get a hold of that whole site of PSG, and I just want to buy all their stuff. I love the fact that Jordan's come into football, and I love how exclusive it is. And I just love the sort of stuff that they're making. So it's a great avenue. I can't wait till that 3-year contract ends, because I'm sure they're gonna get taken in by other clubs as well.
You think? Yeah. I think, but if you think carefully, Cameroon was ahead of the curve, because how long ago did Cameroon have sleeveless shirts for soccer? Then they had to change it for the World Cup, like basketball.
Yeah, that was
like
2002, I think it was.
Was it before that? Was it before then? Shit, that's a long time.
It was 2002.
But I remember they qualified and they had to put on sleeves, and they just like stitched material here because they weren't allowed to have sleeveless
black sleeves. Yeah, no, I was upset about that.
So
I thought they were cool. Yeah,
they were obviously trying to get Jordan's attention already. I mean, kind of like Rwanda got Arsenal's attention, you know?
That's probably exactly, you're right. I'm sure the Cameroonian national basketball team were like, yo, we got these sleeveless shirts, guys. Probably Puma didn't come through and they're sponsoring the basketball team. They're like, shit, well, we gotta make this work now.
Yeah. Maybe we'll catch Jordan's attention. Let's do it. And then they got like, no, you need sleeves, otherwise you can't play. Oh.
Yeah. But going back to Jordan being the wealthiest athlete ever, I mean, the only reason I knew about the NBA, and I'm sure the same goes for you, is because of Michael Jordan. I knew about Michael Jordan before I knew about the NBA, being a South African.
You knew about Michael Jordan, then the Chicago Bulls, and then basketball, basically. In like that order.
Exactly.
Because again, basketball wasn't big here. I don't know if it's gotten bigger here, but back then it wasn't big here at all. Kind of like a baseball situation or NFL. It was just we just knew about it at a point. And plus,
well, look, for them, for Americans generally, they're like, why would we spend any money marketing in Africa?
Well, they think about that. They think about that in general for the world, because you got to remember, it's 300 million of them, so they have an entire world alone to market to. They just need 100 million of those people to each buy a shirt every 6 months in every sport, and they sort it basically.
Yeah, but I mean that it just comes down to the fact of what a big name Michael Jordan was, or what a star he was.
Yeah.
Despite being the fact that he was in the Looney Tune movie Space Jam, which, by the way, you know, the reboot's coming out with LeBron James. I wonder how it's going to be. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it'll be visually much better, obviously, but
I don't know. I like that old school animation style.
Yeah, I just mean the green screen wise, like
the whole glass.
I meant like the fusing of the real and the fake will obviously be much better than what it was. But I think the problem will come into the fact that it'll be both. You'll get the youngsters who are like, oh my God, yeah, mind blown. And you're going to get us and older who have that nostalgia to the original Looney Tunes, with Bugs Bunny sneaking into his house trying to collect his first Jordans, you know, that kind of thing, and not get eaten by the dog. You're going to have that kind of nostalgia to the new kids liking it. I think it'll be. I don't want to say good. I think it'll be. I think we will like it. We will appreciate it, but we will never.
It won't be the same.
We'll never put on par in the first one, and that's just because of who we in our age.
Going back to The Last Dance though, and watching while he was making that movie, and he was just trying to get back to his form, and how he had like all the best players can play with him. So in between shooting, he was still training. Man, he was phenomenal as an athlete.
He was a workhorse.
Just as a person, I suppose. Wowzer. Like, if you want to drive commitment, discipline, that's your go-to guy.
His only goal was to win, and that what was insane was not insane. That's the wrong word, but crazy in how he did it is he would create, like he said in his documentary, he basically would create a situation in his head that didn't really exist about the person that beat him the previous game or whatever, and make that his goal. Like it's a little insane. It is, but that's I guess his winning mentality. No, I'm saying,
I can relate to that.
I'm just saying it's part of a winning mentality where you create, no matter what, you give yourself a scenario to overcome and a reason to beat it, because it's easy to say
to push you.
Yeah, it's easy to say, oh, we lost. Like, let's take Liverpool as an example. We're jumping around, but they won the league early, and their form has dipped. But we understand why they've already won.
Yeah.
And as much as you can accept the fact that they're slipping because they've won, the problem is that's not winning mentality. The idea is whether you win by 10 or by 1, you go to win. That's that simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he showed a big difference, kind of because of how he played. He always pulled the team to do better because they were always like, shit, this guy's scoring 40 points a game. He's like 40 years old, however old he was at that stage. We got to step up our game. And I mean, every team needs someone like that to a point, which you're never going to really.
Well, there are ways to go about it. Yeah,
he's one in a million, 100%. I guess because like people said with Kobe and whatnot, there's once in a lifetime type people. I feel based on just who Jordan is, he will still be the one and only just because of how he superseded the sport at such a stage before internet, before anything like that. I mean, he still walked around with his damn Walkman. Jeez, that's how long ago it was. And I think that's how it puts him on a pedestal, on a level that no one else will kind of reach. Never mind the money factor, just how far he superseded the sport as to now it's easy for good sportsmen to be worldwide news.
Yeah, and on that note, the fact that he was still performing at that time that, like you said, he was becoming the superstar. So all of that attention was fairly new on athletes.
Yeah.
So all those external pressures is something that he then, I mean, it was also one of the things that was personally draining him and affecting him personally. It wasn't affecting his game, but it was affecting his lifestyle off it, which was very draining. But to deal with that and then to leave the sport, which is also phenomenal, to go play another sport and then to come back. And by the way, what did they say? They said if he had continued, he probably would have played Major League Baseball at a pro level. So, yeah, man, he's an interesting character. But I suppose if there's one thing I can resonate is that attitude in terms of making an enemy of your opponent to get the best out of you. Yeah. I always played better when there was something to play for, when there was something, like if I had a grudge towards someone, it was always easier for me to be like, well, now I'm going to go give it my all. As soon as we were friends, or as soon as the competition wasn't as great, those were arguably the best games I've, and I'm not talking about baseball, but I'm just talking about sport, largely soccer. But yeah, and then I always had bad games because I had nothing to play for. So him psychologically prepping himself in that way, I mean, those are all the makings of obviously.
He was his own hype man. Okay.
Yeah, he was. That's what he did. He was.
Yeah.
Good old Michael Jordan. Mikey. Why wouldn't you?
He'd already got an MJ, bruh.
But also something interesting. I know, seeing as we're going to keep within sport and sponsorships and that sort of thing, Rock Nation, who is owned by Jay-Z, it's a media company, like all these other guys are doing now. Media companies also representing footballers have signed an official partnership with AC Milan to continue and help them with events and grow the AC Milan brand. And they also represent Kevin De Bruyne, Marcus Rashford, and a couple of others. I think Eric Bailly from Manchester United, another player that they represent, an agent. So interesting to see how, and if we're looking at LeBron James and we're looking at what Kobe Bryant was, well, what he had done in terms of retiring and then going into the media space and the animation space, it's kind of a route that a lot of these athletes are seeing. Media is becoming a huge thing in terms of, or becoming, it's seen as a new lucrative business opportunity.
Yeah, it's just, it's a case of just them not just, sorry, but a case of them understanding and seeing the large, broader scope of which they could connect to outside of where they were. Plus, it could get a little stale in a sense, staying in that one section of the world, if you want to put it that way, and allowing them to go out and do more on the media allowed for new ideas, new concepts, obviously new sponsorships, all those kind of things, travel included, places they probably wouldn't have gone before, all that kind of stuff. It all kind of comes into that. And I think that helps with that concept of you getting bored after you retire and becoming that bitter old person who doesn't know what to do with himself and all his money. This keeps them, on their toes in a sense. They keep going and going, getting bigger and better and changing and adapting and becoming more than just the player on the court.
Yeah, but they still remain who they are, but they just do it in a different form. Like Kobe Bryant said before he passed away, was his animation that he put out there, he still applied all the same principles he had as a basketball player to that of the businesses that he was running.
Yeah.
Which is what was making him super successful, and which is also why it's such a tragic loss, is the impact that he already had post basketball is already great, and it would have been incredible to see what he could have done had he continued, or had he
been able to
had the opportunity. Yeah.